Hello everyone, you are about to hear a brief summary of the movie The Director. Enjoy watching. Rick Latimore is going through tough times. His wife left him and started dating her lawyer. Drunk. Rick saw them in the bar and, grabbing a bat, chased after the man. The lawyer ran out of the establishment and tried to drive away in his car, but Rick caught up and smashed all the windows and headlights. This wonderful guy works as a school teacher. Rick was sure that he would get fired today because of what happened, but instead, the man is promoted. He is strongly offered to become the principal of the worst school in the city. The loser was left with no choice, and mounting his Honda, Rick headed to the school located in the poorest part of the city. You can't look at it without tears. A plain, neglected building covered in graffiti. Before Rick's eyes, a showdown happened between two gangs. Hoodlums drove onto the school grounds, taking down the fence and started a fight. Whitezak almost stabbed Rick in the side, but the teacher grabbed both Longhaired and his opponent, Emil. The car with the other gang members drove away. That's how Rick first met the students. They told the principal off and were about to continue the fight in his office. Rick wanted to call the police and kick those two out of the school, but Mr. Darcy asked him not to rush. Just then, the stern head of security Jake Phillips entered the office and took both offenders away. The local students had previously been expelled from all educational institutions. Therefore, no one will be expelled from here anymore. This school is a dump for all the city's riffraff. Almost all of them belong to different gangs and have committed various crimes. The main local authority is named Victor Duncan. He has taken over a large part of the school territory. The head of security doesn't take Rick seriously. They are constantly changing principals. Moreover, this one is already looking for a vacancy in the newspaper. Arthur is bothered by Victor's gang, so he waits for Phillips every day to escort him. The thugs were indeed standing nearby, keeping an eye on the lad. Rick still hopes to win back his ex, but she's already tired of this alcoholic who can't hold down a job. The man thought about how it's time for him to change his life. In the evening, he returned to the school to study the personal file of the main gangster, Victor Duncan. The next day, Rick noticed the boy who was hiding from the gang in the gym and decided to figure out what was going on. Raimi said that he was blacklisted, and now he's trying to survive here. The boy won't be saved by either the principal or the police. This school is a real dump, in which the alcoholic loser Rick has ended up. All the students already know about his screw-ups. The principal entered the teacher's lounge and caused a commotion. Some teachers don't even show up for their own lessons. An angry Rick demanded to gather all the students in the auditorium. The principal declared that the chaos has come to an end. Of course, the crowd booed him. No skipping classes, gambling, bad words, or substance dealing, Rick added. An end to robberies, violence, and other disgusting acts that thrive here. The principal is ready to take any measures to stop the lawlessness. The very Victor approached Rick and ordered his guys to shut the man up, but they were attacked by guys from a rival gang. A mass fight broke out. Rick caught up with Victor, who was leaving, and said that he had included him in the school council. If the authority refuses, he will be expelled from his school. In response, Vinci, Apubu, Victor pulled out his knife. This is my school. I make the rules here. This ends now. Rick moved from words to action. First, he found the girl who was selling joints in the bathroom and flushed all the stuff down the toilet. There were 3 guards for the whole school. Rick ordered additional payment to the gym teachers, so they would also keep order. From now on, crowds of guards had the truants into their classes immediately after the bell. They intercept thefts and search lockers. They forcibly dragged the cheeky senior yo-yo into the classes. Only black students are part of Victor's gang. White bandits try to oppose them, but they are in the minority. History teacher Hilary Roscoe doesn't like what Rick is doing. She maintains some order, while the principal brings thugs into the classroom, and the learning process goes to hell. Go to hell. I know a thing or two about women. She liked me. After class, Victor threatened Rick again. I'll cut off your hand. I have another one. Other teachers are also unhappy that the principal is dumping these animals into their classes. One of them even peed on the floor. completely out of control thugs. Are these students on your lists? Yes. Then by law, you have to teach them. In Rick's opinion, teachers can't choose whom to teach and whom not to. If there are problems with someone, it means they need to work with them longer. Urine stinks. If not wiped up, get to work. Such rantings only bring a smile to Phillips's face. Fearfully glancing around, Rick went to the home of a student who was selling weed in the bathroom. The girl decided to leave school. Her little son ran up to the director. Mom? Yes, I have a child. Leave before you get thrown out. Rick urges Rena to stay since she has good grades. But Victor has already found her a new spot in the city. She needs to work. Rick offered the girl private lessons from 6 in the morning. The rest of the time she can work. Deal with it yourself, fool. Trina still came, although she was late, but she stepped out for a bit right away. Rick saw through the window, though, that his motorcycle was being taken apart for parts. A towel was thrown over his head, and Victor's gang members severely beat him. They left the principal lying on the floor. Coming to his senses, a bloodied Rick shuffled over to his motorcycle to gather what was left. Afterwards, he visited the Latino guys in the garage to find out who did it. They couldn't name names but could rebuild his motorcycle. Now, Rick guessed that it was Trina who sold him out to the bandits. Nevertheless, he still intends to help her. Tomorrow, he will wait for her in class at 6 in the morning again. Now Rick carries a bat everywhere he goes. The guys fixed his bike and even added the inscription El Director. Rick raided Victor's supplier and beat them with the bat. The schoolboy promised the gangsters that he would handle him himself. The gang started tailing the motorcyclist. Victor was about to shoot the principal, but he rode onto the school grounds. And the authority figure hesitated to commit the crime in front of a crowd of witnesses. Phillips thinks the principal is overplaying his hand. He can protect him within the school walls, but outside Rick is defenseless. Even Phillips is somewhat afraid of Victor because he knows what he's capable of. The guard himself once graduated from this school. It's always been that way here. But Rick intends to turn this dump into a real school. Hillary found a note asking to talk after classes. It was supposedly left by Emil, but it's not his handwriting. The woman suspected something was wrong. In the empty corridor, some guy with a bag over his head was waiting for her. And he clearly wasn't there for extra lessons. The scoundrel attacked the woman. Hillary was fortunate that Arturo, who was talking with Rick, was waiting for her downstairs. The director rode into the building on his motorcycle and drove through the corridors. Hillary was no longer able to resist and the criminal removed his mask. Underneath it was a white Zag. The director smashed the door to pieces and attacked Potlatov. The scoundrel was beaten and thrown into a trash bin. The woman was taken by an ambulance and the Zag by the police. Hillary was severely beaten. And Victor does not hide his joy about this. After all, he got rid of his main competitor in the struggle for power. The substitute history teacher did not last even one day at this school. Rick had to teach history instead of Hillary. A fight broke out in the class between Emil and Arthur. The boy thinks that the black thug is also involved in the attack on his favorite teacher. Rick made Emil do push-ups in his office. Suddenly he might remember something about the attack. Arturo came here too. He can't read and the history teacher worked with him every day. Rick decided to substitute for her in this matter. Emil started mocking the illiterate Mexican. Mom read this to us before bedtime. Rick drove away the troublesome thug. Right then he learned from Arthur that today Emil left the gang. The principal caught up with him. I didn't want to laugh at him. It's good that he's learning to read. Emil left the gang after they tried to make him write a note to Hillary. This is all Victor's doing. And the principal is next. Their conversation was watched by the boss. Rick came to check on Hillary. He is very sorry that this happened to her. Holds up well. She suggested to a colleague to have dinner with her. Rick, as usual, came to school earlier than everyone else. In front of him, Emil was thrown off the roof, and he, breaking the glass with his body, hung on a rope. Emil was taken by an ambulance, and Rick could think of nothing better than to go to a bar and get drunk. After that, he went to the hospital to visit the injured guy. Rick is very sorry that his actions led to tragedy. He wrongly thought he could change something. Suddenly Emil woke up and called Rick a coward. Emil's words energized Rick. Seeing Victor's brazen face in the cafeteria, Rick ran up to the thug and stuffed his mouth with the chips. He will find a way to put the bastard in jail. Victor threatened that if Rick shows up at school tomorrow, he will kill him. The students had never seen the gangsters in such a vulnerable state. The police just called. White Zack was released on bail, so the police won't help the principal either. He'd better take a day off tomorrow, but Rick is not going to give up. Phillips promised to support him. In the evening, Hillary came to Rick. She found out that Zack was released, so she's transferring to another school in another city. The woman came to say goodbye. Rick understands everything, so he didn't even try to dissuade her. In the morning, all the students stared at the reckless principal. As if nothing happened, he taught the history class and stayed to work with Arturo. Hillary entered the classroom. She decided that she just couldn't leave her students. The children haven't gone home. They're waiting for something downstairs. Arturo agreed to walk the teacher to her car, but at the last moment, he rushed back into the school. White Zack climbed over the fence and entered the building. Rick and the security guard were about to leave the school, but at that moment, Victor arrived with his thugs. Rick wanted to call the police, but the wires had already been cut. Phillips took the chains to lock the doors and saw an outsider in the building. Rico was waiting in the hallway with a knife for Yo-Yo. The man armed himself with a bat. Phillips was going to be the first to fight, but he was locked in the closet. Rico was left alone in the locker room against 3. He had to hide and run away. The principal turned on the hot water and filled the shower with steam. Philip began to wreck the closet, and the mustached man was sent to check on the guard. Victor still found Rick and put a gun to his head. However, he did not pull the trigger. The leader ordered Yo-Yo to stab the director. Yo-Yo has had enough of what they did to Emil. He has no intention of going to prison. So if Victor wants to kill the director, let him do it himself. The authority figure shot the disobedient thug. The next one was supposed to be the director, but unexpectedly, Arthur came to the rescue and knocked the gun away. Meanwhile, Phillips dealt with the mustached one and ran to the locker room. There, the White Zack was already waiting for him but was quickly knocked out. It turned out that without his cronies and weapons, Victor was nothing, and the man thoroughly thrashed the bandit. The director kicked the criminals out the door and threw him onto the asphalt in front of the other students. Victor was taken away by the police. Rick Latimer made a significant contribution to finally stopping the chaos in the worst school in the city.